Hello and welcome to the Priggya Arora Show, where we discuss various aspects of law and entrepreneurship with people who have been there and done that. My name is Priggya Arora, founder of PA Legal, and we have an interesting guest today, Devin Miller, founder of Miller IP. Welcome, Devin, on the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Wow, awesome. So, Devin, let's start with something fun and warm up. What is one thing in life that you cannot live without?
Oh, I mean, probably in a general sense. So I'm certainly a big family guy, so could never live without my family. So been married for 14 years and have 4 kids, ages 6 to 11. So that'd be the number one thing I couldn't live without.
Awesome. What a beautiful family, Devin. Congratulations for that. And yeah, so now let's begin with your story. How did you become the person you are today?
Yeah, that's a short question to a much longer answer, but I'll try and keep it to a reasonable scope. So probably backs up a bit till undergraduate when I was studying dual degrees in electrical engineering and Chinese, with really kind of the emphasis for coming out of wanting to do electrical engineering. But as I was getting towards the end of undergraduate, I was kind of looking and saying, well, I like engineering, but I don't want to be an engineer, in the sense that most engineers, you're going to be on a project for a long period of time. It takes you quite a while to work your way up, to have any real impact on the business. And you're, for most of your career, you're a smaller cog in a bigger wheel. And so with that, I was saying that doesn't sound fun to me, or it's not what I want to do for the rest of my career. And so I was kind of looking at what I wanted to do. And I kind of had two passions. So I loved startups and small businesses and being an entrepreneur, as well as I thought the legal aspect of patents and trademarks and intellectual property, be able to work on a lot of inventions, sounded interesting. So with that, I just decided rather than choosing one or the other, I just do both. So I went off and got both a law degree and an MBA degree. Did a startup, or did my first startup while I was still doing the dual degrees. Also came out, or was an attorney, been an attorney for about 10 years, and just kind of continued to chase both passions. And so, you know, I still founded and work on several startups and small businesses I continue to run and be a part of, as well as on the law side, have my own law firm, Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with patents and trademarks and other things.
Awesome. And I feel IP is such an interesting topic. Like you get to actually practice both the worlds, being involved with startups and small businesses as well as legal stuff. So it's definitely an interesting field.
Yeah, no, I tend to enjoy it, and you get to see a lot of cool inventions. You get to work with a lot of interesting and diverse businesses and startups, and so it definitely provides a lot of diversity and a lot of enjoyment with the work.
So, Devin, you are very inspiring and you have founded and been a part of many startups, and probably you have followed through them till the point they have become successful. So how do you decide that what kind of startups you will pursue, and how do you decide when to, move out from a startup or keep going into that startup?
Yeah, I mean, I think that on a lot of those questions, every startup is going to be a bit different. So some of them, I would say that with that, there are some commonalities. And so when you're looking at a startup or a small business, at least for me, and what worked for me is, one, I have to find it exciting or interesting or something that I want to work on. So in other words, there are a lot of ways to make money. Not all the ways to make money, even if they're good ways, mean or suits my interests or my passions or what I would like to do. So I always look and say, okay, would this be something I would enjoy or want to work on, or I'd be able to contribute to? By the same token, just because I'm passionate about it doesn't mean it's a good business opportunity. So it's kind of finding that mixture of, hey, one, is it something that I would find exciting and fun to work on? And two, can I see an actual viable path as to who would be your customers, what your product would be, how much you sell it for, and how you'd get it to market. And then if I can find those two kind of coupled together, then I'll start to pursue it and look into it. And so, and it can be everything from start to look into it and see, is there any other intellectual property that would be blocking the idea? Is there other people that are out there? How competitive is the marketplace? Is it okay? Now, what I need as far as an investment and initial startup cash, and what would it take, and how long does it take to go to market, and all those things kind of factor into it. And then if it kind of makes it past those barriers, as far as kind of, or a few of the startups, some of them I'm still with, still own, still actively participate in. Some of them I've exited, and others I still maintain an ownership equity stake, but I'm become more of a silent position or not active as in it as much day to day. And so with each of those, it kind of really just depends. Some of them, the ones that I really want to do, then I continue to do them. Some of them, as they've grown, as they've evolved and they pivoted and said, hey, it's a great business, but I have passions and something I want to pursue otherwise. And so I tend to step back or otherwise exit from those businesses. So it's kind of one where it kind of just varies depending on the business and how active I want to be in it and how passionate I continue to be about it.
So from what I get from the conversation, it's all about balance between your interest and the business aspect of the startup.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, the best thing is when you're in a startup or small business is if you're excited to come, not every day, because there are some days are like every other job that you're not going to be excited about it. You're going to have to deal with things that you don't want to do. But, for the most part, if I'm excited about it, feel like I can add a lot of value and I'm passionate about it, and it continues to engage me, then I want to continue to be with it as long as that continues because I'm adding value, and vice versa. If it's saying, hey, this is now to the point where I'm not as engaged or I can't add as much value or it's going in a different direction or some of those other things, then I say, okay, it's probably time for me to do something different. Not that the business needs to go or shut down. I just may not be as actively involved in it because I'm not going to be able to continue to add that value.
Interesting, very interesting. I think till the point we are able to add value to that startup, we should be a part of it. And when we feel that, okay, we are not adding any value, it's best to take a step backward.
Absolutely.
So, Devin, now come to you, your videos and your podcast. So you make such good videos that I am fan of your videos and your podcast. So how did you decide that you'll come up with podcast or you'll start making videos? And what are some of the interesting things that you learned during the process?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in creating a lot of content, and not just for content's sake. In other words, you can throw out a lot of videos, but looking for different ways and avenues to share our content, because I think a lot of people consume content different ways. Some like to watch videos, others like to listen on a podcast when they're out or exercising or driving. Other people like to read, articles or have it as a more of a written form. And so when we're looking to create content, we're saying, okay, if we're going to create content, why don't we hit as many channels as we can? So that those that are, depending on how people would like to consume that content, we have a viable path for them. And so, we have quite a few different blog articles. A lot of the blog articles will also have video at the beginning. So if you're wanting to search a topic and you can find, hey, I don't want to read the whole article, I just want to hear from the expert type of a thing, then you can listen to the video. And then, so that was a lot of kind of the mantras. We do a lot of video because it hits, those people that like to consume it via video. We'll do a lot of blogs because a lot of people still like to read. And then on the podcast was one where, I love podcasts. I'm an avid listener to a lot of podcasts. I typically will run in the mornings and I'll run or listen to podcasts as I'm go running because it's a way that I can consume a lot of content while I'm doing something else as well. And so with that in mind, as I love podcasts, one of the things with a lot of our clients is there are a lot of startups and small businesses, and they're always having the various things that they're encountering with their journey. And it always feels like, everybody else has it figured out, but if you're the one person in the startup or small business, you always feel like you're a failure, or you're always the one that's struggling when everybody else is succeeding. And so the podcast really kind of got started from wanting to get back to the startup community that we serve and say, hey, let's share those journeys. People can hear that everybody has different paths, different journeys. There isn't one answer to everybody, and that everybody has those struggles. And so the podcast was kind of a bit more organic. It's just starting to tell some of the journeys of our clients and other people that we came along with, and it's continued to expand out from there.
Awesome. And that I think it is great for the podcast hosts as well, because they get to learn so much from the interaction that they also grow every day.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So David, now, I just wanted to ask, like, how do you keep yourself motivated since there is so much on the plate? There is podcast, blog articles, then your work in the law firm, then startups and small businesses. So how do you keep yourself motivated since you have so many things to do?
It's a fair question. I don't know if I have a great answer other than I just enjoy it and love it. And so I think, one thing is, I always used to joke, but there's still a lot of truth to it that my hobbies are startups. In other words, what I just
Yeah.
naturally find if I have some spare time or I'm thinking or I'm otherwise, or have some downtime or that, most of the time my thoughts just naturally tend to gravitate towards a startup or business or thinking about them. And so that's where my thoughts often are. And so for me, I get a lot of enjoyment and pleasure out of it. And so a lot of the times, the reason why I continue to keep engaged and then passionate about it and love to continue to grow it and work on various aspects is just from a natural sense of enjoyment from it. And that one's probably more so just out of a sense of, I guess, or nature and how I grew up and probably inherent just with my personality. So I don't know if there's anything really honestly beyond that. Just I tend to enjoy it and find them fun, and kind of like any hobby or anything that you tend to spend your time on. If you are fun with it and tend to enjoy it, you tend to continue to do it. And it doesn't feel like it's a long day or a lot of work because it's just fun. So as simple or contrite as it sounds, I just enjoy it. And so I continue to be passionate about them and continue to work on the various fronts.
Great, Devin. You have, given an answer in such a simplified manner, but that answer is so deep because people do not consider work as a hobby. But I know for startup owners and entrepreneurs, work is a hobby because they just enjoy doing it. It's like my work. Why shouldn't I enjoy doing it? So same is the case with me. I just love having conversation, love building the work and things like that. So I resonate with this answer so much. Thank you for sharing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Devin, now quickly a rapid fire round. I'll just put like 3 to 1 questions for you. So 3 things you are grateful for.
Yeah, one I've already hit on. Certainly grateful for my wife and my kids and family, and that's a big part of my life. Second thing I'm grateful for is I'm a pretty religious person, so I'm grateful for God and that impact that it's had on my life, and definitely grateful for the church that I'm a part of. And the last one is just grateful for the country that I live in. As much as it's going on in the world and divisions and upheavals and whatnot, it still is a great place. Love living at it. Love the community I'm in and the people I'm able to associate with and serve. So probably, family, God, and country are probably the top 3 I'm grateful for.
Awesome. Family, God, and country. Wow. Now, very quickly, 2 traits that you think are useful for people in our field.
Yeah, I mean, I think that across almost any field, perseverance is going to be the one that makes a big difference. Whether it's in the law profession, whether you're in a startup or a small business or whatever you're working on, you're going to encounter, especially if you're the boss or doing your own thing or pursuing your passion. It is not always easy. It's not always going to be fun. And you're going to have a degree of perseverance that you're willing to push through those times what aren't fun, because that's what's going to separate the people that are successful from those that aren't. And so, or at least one of the aspects. So I think perseverance is a big trait. And then I think just finding the enjoyment in the journey. And so I think that a lot of times you're always reaching for the destination. You're always wanting to hit X, Y, and Z goal. And it's great to hit goals. It's great to set goals and strive forward. But if all you're doing is shooting for goals and you're never looking and saying, what am I doing along the way, then you're missing out on it. So I think perseverance and finding joy in the journey that you're taking are probably the 2 best traits.
Wow. Perseverance and finding joy. So now, one aspiration that you have for the future.
This one's probably outside of business. So my wife and I, we've purchased some land. We're working to save up to build a home, and it's on a few acres. And we're always looking to have kind of a hobby farm. So I don't know, I want to be a full-time farmer, but looking to build it or plant an orchard, have some animals, and have some trees and room to spread out and everything else. And so aspiration is to get a hobby farm going in the future.
Beautiful. So yeah, that's so beautiful to have a farmland and acres of space with trees and animals and everything. Beautiful. So now, Devin, I'll ask you to share some key takeaways for lawyers and legal entrepreneurs. Uh, Any key takeaways that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think for lawyers, and I'll kind of couch it with, lawyers that are entrepreneurs. In other words, if you're doing your own firm, or you're a partner in a firm and it's a small firm, or starting out, or just getting going, you're hanging on a shingle. I think that one of the things is that you're going to have to figure out who your market audience is, or who your target audience is. And a lot of times, especially for a lot of lawyers, what you tend to end up doing is you'll just take in any work that anybody will pay you for, especially if you're just getting started or you're a small firm, because you're looking to just pay the bills. Definitely get it. And when you're getting started out, yeah, take those ones, but you should have it with an eye to the direction of figuring out what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you can actually add value, and how you can differentiate yourself from the marketplace, from all the other lawyers that are out there. And so I think the biggest thing is, if you're getting started, yes, take the work that will pay the bills, to be able to keep the lights on and keep the firm going, but don't keep that as a long-term strategy of just being everything to everybody, but saying, where are the areas that I want to focus on? Where can I actually provide the most value and be the most, and set myself apart? And I think if you can do those things, and then figure out then how you reach those people, once you've identified who you want to focus on, look to figure out a plan as to where are those people as far as, are they online, or are they or how do I reach them, and then make sure that to target them, and so that you can help them.
Awesome. So find a target audience and just focus on that, where your target audience is, whether they are on LinkedIn, where they are on Twitter, where they are offline. But I think all the marketing strategy depends on who the target audience is. And Devin, just to add to it, one of my trainers, they told me when I started my own business one day, they told me that you should know your target audience as you know a family member, so that you'll be able to relate to them very well and probably serve them better.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Devin, for having a conversation with me. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Appreciate you having me on. It was a fun conversation.
Hey there, thank you for attending today's session. If you enjoyed today's session, do follow our channel and consider sharing it with a friend. My name is Priggya Arora, daughter of inspiring parents, alumna of IIT Kharagpur, engineer turned lawyer and entrepreneur, and now founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. Thank you.